Hey, it's Soul with a guide to item level upgrades during the first week of patch 10.1 Embers of Neltharion. Hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and let's slow walk through how gearing and progression is going to work in this patch. Keep in mind some specific info here might be inaccurate because PTR stuff, but you should be able to walk away with a general idea of what to do. It's a little bit overwhelming to try and tell you everything in a big upgrade chart, expecting you to be like, oh yeah, sure, I totally get it. So let's take it nice and easy this week and focus on acquiring gear, currencies, and some basic understanding. When you start questing and laying waste to mobs in the first week of 10.1, you'll mostly be picking up Explorer level gear. This gear has an item level range of 376 to 398, so it can be slightly higher than Forbidden Reach gear. This range also happens to cover normal and heroic dungeons, so you can expect Explorer level gear to drop from here as well. You may also run into a few pieces of Adventurer and even Veteran gear, which is worth paying more attention to. Adventurer gear ranges from an item level of 389 to 411. Veteran gear ranges from 402 to 424, which, during this preseason period, is the highest item level that you can get. Mythic Zeros are where you can farm for Adventurer gear, while Veteran gear may be found in later parts of the quest campaign if you can get to it. And there are weekly chests, like the one you get from the Aiding the Accord quest that you pick up in Valdrakken, and you should knock that one out. There's also a weekly quest called Worthy Ally to help out the Niffin that's almost identical to the Aiding the Accord quest, where you get rep and do activities and you just get a bunch of goodies. Another source of decent starting gear is the zone activity, Sniff and Seek. It's a low-stakes, puzzle-solving kind of escape room sort of feel with limited combat, and from the feel of it, you can do this up to 3 times a week. You just gotta work for it. The first dig is free, you get 1 each reset. You can get more chances by finding maps, and 1 you can get from completing the Worthy Ally quest each week. And finally, you can buy a map from a vendor once per week by trading in barter bricks. Barter bricks are a trading currency that you obtain in the zone that you use on all sorts of different stuff, including another one of those maps, and it's cheap. There's some other cool stuff you can get from the Sniff and Seek activity, but we're focused on the gear side of things. Just, do this and get gear. Now let's talk about flight stones and crests. These are found at various quantities and qualities all over the Dragon Isles, not just the new zone. Killing rares, cooking soup, digging holes in the ground, endgame activities, flight stones are all over the place. You can only hold 2,000 of these at a time, but there's no daily or weekly cap. These are made to be earned and spent freely, and they're a currency, so there's no bag space taken up. Crests, during the preseason at least, will come in 2 flavors, Whelpling crests and Drake crests. They can come as a whole or in the form of fragments. You just put 15 together to make 1. I'm going to keep my promise, I'm not going to get into the upgrade side of things until next week, but think of crests like this. If you do Whelpling level activities, you get Whelpling crests. You do Drake level activities, you get Drake crests. Okay, that didn't help much, I bet, but basically depending on the difficulty level of activity that you do, you get the gear and the upgrade materials to match it. These basic crests are also pretty easy to find. You'll get them from all the same sources that I've been talking about, from world quests to weekly loot boxes to digging and more. These fragments and crests, they will take up reagent bag space, but they stack up fairly high, so it's not like the hugest burden. There is a cap on the crests that grow throughout the season. At the start, you can only create 10 of each crest, which limits just how many times you can upgrade your gear to higher levels per week. It's not meant to gut the idea of infinitely farming for upgrades entirely, but it is mostly meant to prevent the most degenerate behavior within the first, 2 or so weeks of the season. Next week, the cap is going to go up for these 2 crests, new crests will be introduced, and from me, you're going to learn how these crests might not be needed at all for certain upgrades. There is a way to pick up extra crest fragments if you're interested. A vendor in the zone sells bags of these, and you can purchase 1 of these bags per week. The vendor asks for unearthed fragrant coins, and these are earned from completing public events out in the new zone. They're pretty easy to find, they look like a horn on the map. They're sorta like world quests, but not. They don't show up on the map unless you're within a generous range, but you still need to explore to find them. They can take up more time than a world quest to complete, but as a public event, everyone who is participating shares credit. So in a big group, and especially early in the patch, expect a lot of traffic and for these to get knocked out really quickly. Those of you who actively participate in Big 3 content, which is organized raids, PvP, and Mythic Plus, you probably outgear almost everything that's being offered to you during this preseason. Flightstones are going to be important to collect, but not critical. Just do what you feel like doing for now. The only thing I would say to pay attention to would be veteran gear that drops, because, well, item level 424 gear ain't bad. Once again, I'm not going to talk about upgrades, but for the moment, I'm going to suggest to you to give it a chance and let the upgrade system explain itself in-game. So just take this gear to the upgrade NPC, plug it in, and it's going to ask you for certain resources. It'll definitely ask for Flightstones, and it may ask for 1 or 2 kinds of crests, or none at all, but again, I'm going to get into that next week in case you want some more advice. Finally, there's a quest that you can pick up to complete your first Spark of Shadowflame. You can use it to craft a new piece of gear, or to upgrade Season 1 gear to Season 2 gear, which will have up to an item level of 424. The reagents needed to take this gear even higher aren't going to be available until the following week. Crafting or recrafting this gear is going to take a skill equivalent to crafting Season 1 gear without any primal infusions, so this is going to be very accessible. I suggest choosing your piece of gear wisely. Okay, fine, I guess the lariat. Sheesh. So let's summarize. Don't worry about upgrades outside of veteran gear. Work towards getting that first Spark of Shadowflame and get your first piece of 424 gear. Get as far as you can into the quest campaign for some possible veteran gear and reputation. Knock out the zone activities and try to keep your stock of Flightstones fairly high for when the season starts the following week. And I hope you'll join me for the full-on season guide to gearing up with upgrades. Be sure to subscribe so you know when it's out, like the video, share it with buddies, catch me live on Twitch, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.